What's up, everybody? It's JT Sports. I'm back to you guys with another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my impact players for the Kansas City Chiefs going into the 2019 NFL season. So the Kansas City Chiefs, they made a lot of moves on the defensive side of the ball. They got rid of Justin Houston. They traded away D Ford. They cut Eric Berry. So they have had a lot of turnover on the Kansas City Chiefs defense. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Kareem Hunt, he got released a couple of months ago, actually. And then we don't know even if Tyreek Hill is even going to be able to play. And he might even be serving prison time. So a lot of question marks for the Kansas City Chiefs on the offensive side of the ball when it comes to who's going to be that number one wide receiver or who is going to be that X factor that Tyreek Hill was. So let's get into it. So the first player I have on this list is obviously quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Now Patrick Mahomes, MVP of the NFL last year, went to the Pro Bowl, was an All Pro, passed for 5,097 yards, had 50 touchdowns, only threw 12 interceptions, and completed 66% of his passes. Patrick Mahomes, guys, is the real deal. He's legit. He's a top five quarterback in my opinion, even though he's only started one season as a full-time starter in the NFL. But Patrick Mahomes, ladies and gentlemen, is here to stay. And he obviously is a big part of this Kansas City Chiefs offense. Despite who's going to be the number one wide receiver, Patrick Mahomes is still going to be able to produce elite caliber numbers. And it doesn't really matter if they're able to find a guy to replace Tyreek Hill because he does have other options. I'm getting to those other options later on in this video. But Patrick Mahomes, guys, as long as he's the quarterback of the team, the Kansas City Chiefs offense is pretty much going to be straight and they're going to be pretty good. Next up, I have tight end Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce last year was an All Pro as well, a Pro Bowler, had 1,336 receiving yards, 103 receptions, and 10 touchdowns. Travis Kelce now is the best tight end in all of football. Now, I'm just Travis Kelce is the best tight end in football. Rob Gronkowski, he's retired, and now Travis Kelce takes the mantle. And to be honest, I thought Travis Kelce was better than Rob Gronkowski last season. A lot of people thought I was crazy for me to consider Travis Kelce the best tight end in football last year with Gronk playing, but Gronk obviously with the injuries and stuff like that. And then this season, Gronkowski kind of deteriorated a little bit. He really became one of the Patriots' best blockers, run blockers on the team this year. But Travis Kelce is the best tight end in all of football now. I think he's probably going to replicate these numbers. He's probably going to be Patrick Mahomes' go-to guy now without really the lack of a number one wide receiver on the team, and he should have the similar stats that he put up this season. Last season, excuse me, this season as well. He'll probably have about over 100 receptions, probably about similar receiving yards. He'll probably have about 1,200. And he'll probably have about the same amount of touchdowns as well because he is the Kansas City Chiefs' best receiving option at this point. So it's interesting to see how the whole receiver debacle with the Kansas City Chiefs unfolds as we continue through the rest of the NFL offseason. But Travis Kelce, without a doubt, is going to be an impact player for the Kansas City Chiefs this coming season. Next up, this might be a little bit of a surprise, but I have halfback Damian Williams. Now, Damian Williams had 256 rushing yards, which was a career high because this guy didn't really do anything with the Dolphins. Had 4 touchdowns and averaged 5.1 yards per carry. He might be in a position battle with Carlos Hyde, but I feel he will win that out because Carlos Hyde, I mean, he got traded by the Browns. He had pretty good stats, but his yards per carry was freaking abysmal. And Damian Williams, I feel they'll probably want to go with Damian Williams because I feel he's probably the more suited halfback to fit the Andy Reid offense. Andy Reid likes shifty halfbacks. When you look at the halfbacks that have had success, and Andy Reid's system, when you think about the LaShawn McCoys of the world, the Westbrooks of the world, you know, for all you throwback Eagles fans out there that remember Westbrook for the Eagles, he likes shiftier, faster backs, and also backs that can do a little bit of damage in the passing game. Damian Williams can also do that as well. So that's why I'm expecting him to be the starter, and I expect him to have a pretty good season. I think he will have 1,000 yards rushing. He'll probably have about 5, 6 touchdowns. I think he'll probably average 5.9 yards per carry or somewhere around that range because the Kansas City Chiefs have a pretty solid offensive line. And the next player that I have on this list is wide receiver Miko Hartman. Now, Miko Hartman was the Kansas City Chiefs' first selection of the past NFL draft. He was selected in the second round, and he was selected because they want to find a guy who can be a replacement to Tyreek Hill. Now, he has a speed factor. He was an All-American returner and kick returner during his time with Georgia. Um, it's going to be interesting because Demarcus Robinson is a speedster as well. So I'm not going to say that he's outright going to win the Tyreek Hill role of the Kansas City Chiefs offense. I don't even think he's going to start. I think he'll probably rotate for the first couple of weeks until probably about that midway point, about week 10, is when we'll start seeing a lot more Miko Hartman involved in the Kansas City Chiefs offense. Because look, all these people have all these lofty expectations for Miko Hartman, and I understand why because the whole Tyreek Hill incident. But Demarcus Robinson is pretty fast his own right. He can contribute as well. And rookie wide receivers don't really, come out having great breakout games until like later on in the season. They normally for even a good example of this last season was DJ Moore. Before Cam Newton got injured, DJ Moore had a good stretch of games. He had 4 to 5 solid games straight. And before that, he struggled to get involved in the Panthers offense. I think that's going to be a lot of Miko Hartman, but I do believe he will start to turn it on later on in the NFL season. But normally rookie wide receivers, it normally takes them a couple of weeks to get acclimated, get them involved in the system, find ways to get them the ball, figure out what works and what doesn't work with them and whatnot, their strengths and stuff like that. So Miko Hartman, I think he'll have an impact this year, but I think it'll probably come on later on in this year's NFL season. Now, while everybody's talking about Miko Hartman and who's going to replace Tyreek Hill as the number one wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs, this is the guy who people need to be talking about and finger pointing at is wide receiver Sammy Watkins. Because where has Sammy Watkins been? Where Sammy Watkins hasn't been anything since freaking 2016 with the Buffalo Bills or 2015 of that. That's the last time I heard of Sammy Watkins actually being a lead or actually being a solid wide receiver because for the last couple of years, Sammy Watkins has been injury prone. He's been an average wide receiver when he's been playing at best. I mean, he missed his games this past season, had 519 receiving yards, 40 receptions, 3 touchdowns. Now he had some solid games. I had him on my fantasy team. He was a pretty solid contributor. But I mean, everybody's looking at young guys like Demarcus Robinson and Miko Hartman to step up. Sammy Watkins is the guy who needs to be stepping up. Not those young guys, Sammy Watkins. And this guy is getting paid a good lump sum of money by the Kansas City Chiefs. So this guy is the guy who needs to come in and be that number one wide receiver and that guy who can contribute for the Kansas City Chiefs. He needs to be that X factor in that offense. He has the speed. He has good size. I mean, this guy is getting paid a good lump sum of money by the Kansas City Chiefs, and nobody's calling this guy out. I've seen people talking about Miko Hartman, Demarcus Robinson, who's going to replace Tyreek Hill. This is the guy. Sammy Watkins is that guy who is going to have to step up. He's going to have to be that guy to take over that number one receiver role if Tyreek Hill doesn't play this year. Sammy Watkins, man, I'm expecting this guy to have an impact season. He has to have an impact season. He's going to be that guy who's going to have to take over that number one receiver role. He's going to have to stay healthy. Sammy Watkins, I think Sammy Watkins early on in his career, very good, reached his potential, and then after that, he's been an average wide receiver. Don't know where he's been the last couple of years after those 2015, 2016 seasons. So Sammy Watkins is a guy who's going to have to step up for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm actually shocked that nobody has even pointed this out. NFL Network, ESPN, everybody talking about Miko Hartman and whatnot. Sammy Watkins, not Miko Hartman, a rookie wide receiver. Sammy Watkins is the guy who's going to have to step up for the Kansas City Chiefs this year. Next up on the defensive side of the ball, I have defensive end Frank Clark, who the Kansas City Chiefs traded for with the Seattle Seahawks. Frank Clark, man, was had a very good season with the Seattle Seahawks last year. Had 41 tackles, 13 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, 3 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries. And I think he's going to be an upgrade over D Ford, Justin Houston. I think he's going to be a very good player for the Kansas City Chiefs and part of that Kansas City Chiefs defense as they look to turn it around because that defense was freaking terrible. And I believe all the games that Kansas City Chiefs lost last season, they lost when the defense was on the field and had to get one more stop to win the game. When we look at the New England Patriots game and the AFC Championship game, they lost that game because what happened? Their defense was on the field. Against the LA Chargers, they lost that game the second time they played on Thursday Night Football because the LA Chargers got the ball last. It went down the field, scored, got a 2-point conversion. So that Kansas City Chiefs defense, pretty much whenever that defense was on the field, with the last 2 minutes of the game left, you could not count on them to come up clutch. And a huge reason for that was because they failed to get to the quarterback in those situations despite having a bunch of sacks. I don't know how a defense could be that terrible and yet be one of the best teams in the NFL and get into the quarterback last year. I don't know how that happened, but I mean, Frank Clark, man, is going to be a guy in those 2-minute situations when you need somebody to go out there and make a play on that defense. He's going to be the guy to do that for the Kansas City Chiefs. The last guy I have on this list is safety Tyrann Mathieu. They signed him in free agency. He walked away from Houston, and actually, this was a surprise move. I didn't expect him to go to the Kansas City Chiefs. I thought he would probably go to Dallas or some team like that. And then once they signed him, they released Eric Berry. I thought they would actually keep Eric Berry and Tyrann Mathieu, but I guess they had other plans for the defense. I guess they just want to completely start over. Last season, he had 89 tackles, 3 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, and 8 pass deflections. And he started in all 16 games, so injuries shouldn't be a problem with him. I mean, Tyrann Mathieu, man, he's going to have a big year on this Kansas City Chiefs defense as well because that secondary, man, we talk about the pass rushers where they were in the last 2 minutes. That secondary just got absolutely annihilated the last 2 minutes. I mean, Phillip Rivers shredded it in that 2-minute drill in that Thursday night game. Then Tom Brady shredded it in overtime. I mean, just terrible, man. Just terrible. And they lost Steven Nelson, who was their best cornerback. He went to the Pittsburgh Steelers in free agency. So the Kansas City Chiefs, I still don't know how I feel about their secondary. But Tyrann Mathieu, I mean, the secondary is still pretty much going to be the same in my opinion, even though I believe Eric Berry is the better player. I still believe that secondary is still going to be a huge question mark to me. And I still think that secondary is still not going to be that good, even with Tyrann Mathieu, who I feel is going to have a pretty good year. Tyrann Mathieu is going to have to do a lot of for this Kansas City Chiefs defense, and I think he will live up to that. I think he'll be a Pro Bowler, and I think he's going to have a pretty good season. Let me know what you guys think about this list down in the comment section down below. Make sure to like the video and subscribe for more NFL videos and content, and thanks for watching.